First in-person speaker is Monica Guzman, who registered for items 4, 25, 30, 35, 36, 43, 48, 49, 50, 51, 75, 76, and 77 for a total of 39 minutes.
Good morning, and trust me, I will not be speaking that long. But I do thank Bill Bunch and Save Our Springs for what he did, because we do have our rights to speak 3 minutes on each item that we have to talk about. So, good morning. I'm Monica Guzman, Policy Director at Go Austin, Vamos Austin. Today, you are scheduled to approve item 4, authorizing the city manager to apply for a SWIFT loan to develop and implement Austin's water advanced metering infrastructure project. That sounds like a good thing to me. I don't know that much about it. GAVA's position is yes, we support it, and we also urge you to apply for a SWIFT loan to improve drainage, green infrastructure, and other flood mitigation improvements mentioned in GAVA's call to action regarding local flooding and mitigation. Our call to action states specifically, flooding and other climate emergencies are affecting more people than ever and disproportionately harming low-income communities. Today, there are several ways we can take action to mitigate risk, save lives, and improve our health and quality of life. Info and, that's not for y'all. That was info and sample letters below. Over $600 million in grant funding is available through the state flood plan administered by the Texas Water Development Board, and we're asking you to apply for that SWIFT loan. GAVA staff, GAVA community have been advocating for money to address those issues, to address the flooding, especially in flood-prone areas such as District 2, to address issues that's lot flooding due to the over-approval of overdevelopment. Basically, we need you to step up, get that loan, and protect people's lives. Thank you.
Bunch registered to speak on items 30, 36, 43, 51, and 76 for a total of 15 minutes.
Good morning, Mayor, council members. Thank you for your service to Austin. Bill Bunch with Save Our Springs Alliance. I will start with number 30, the Longhorn Dam upgrades, $22.8 million. Just a point of clarification there. I hope y'all insist that this get included in this project. It is a good project. It refers to widening an underpass south of the dam. And I'm wondering if that's referring to the underpass that actually goes through the dam. It's a really narrow tunnel. It needs to be expanded for the pedestrian access that I think you're talking about. But what we really need to add to this project that would cost almost nothing is a portage access just below the dam to facilitate people who are canoeing, kayaking on the lake who want to continue downriver, or they're on the river and want to go upstream. Right now, it's extremely hazardous and difficult because of the garbage and old construction debris to navigate the bank of the river just below the dam. So we need that connectivity for people enjoying the river between the lake and the dam. So I hope you'll address that. On number 4, the water meter loan, $25 million from the Water Development Board. This is absolutely a good thing. But that's a lot of money for virtually zero backup, telling you what's going on with this program. It references that this is an add-on to an $80 million loan from 2016 for this water metering program. Where are we? Where did that money go? What's happening with that money? Yes, we want meter reading to be automatic, so we're not sending people out, and it references sort of gains in, reducing traffic, people traveling around to measure it, because it's now electronic. And it talks about detecting leaks. But there's not a single word here in your resolution about water conservation. And, this automatic metering program needs to be pushing and informing people about their water use and how they can reduce it, and telling them when they're using too much. This should be a fundamental part of our water conservation planning. It's not. And in fact, what your water utility is doing is they've basically abandoned any meaningful commitment to water conservation. If you look at the 5-year plan that we're required to update for the state of Texas that was presented to the Water Task Force this week, it's calling for improving water conservation by 0.075% per year. I mean, that's about as minimal of a goal as you can set without saying your goal is to do nothing. And this in the face of our worst water drought potentially right upon us, in the face of what your water utility's also not telling you about the future of our water availability in the Highland Lakes being a fraction of what it's been computed to be for the past decades, because of climate change and because what we've actually measured and seen the last 10 or 15 years. We should be going double time on conservation, and instead we're backsliding. For the first time, literally since the 70s, our conservation gains have plateaued. They've flattened out. Whereas before, for these decades, since the 70s or 80s, our conservation gains have matched population growth. So our total water use has been roughly flat. And now it's not. It's going back up for the first time ever. There's no excuse for that. And we don't have the water to allow that to be. And this metering program should be part of that. Number 51, the tree inventory. Of course, this is a great thing. It calls for tree inventory, tree planting. It calls for a comprehensive tree inventory. But if you read the resolution, it says public tree inventory. Every place that it says public, that needs to be either stricken or it needs to say public and private tree inventory. There's no way our tree inventory is comprehensive or even particularly that helpful or meaningful when you're not inventorying our private tree canopy on private land. That should be fundamental to this. And it should document right where we are right now before we start bulldozing our urban tree canopy on private land because of what you've already done with Home Phase 1 and what you're proposing to do with Home Phase 2. If we're going to really care about our tree canopy, we need to be serious. It does call for a maintenance plan also. The maintenance plan needs to start tomorrow by documenting all the damage to the trees in our public parks that are done by the mowers. We need to be cutting way back on our mowing. It's waste of gas, it's noisy. When you cut it too short, then everything dries out. We're grossly over-mowing our parkland and probably our other public lands. And if you walk in any park and look at the base of the trees, you see scars from the mowers on almost every tree. That needs to stop tomorrow, so please address this. Make it a comprehensive plan and take immediate steps to save and protect the trees we have. Let's see. Mention the Longhorn Dam upgrades. Repetitive loss resolution number 43 for flooding. I was really happy to see in there that it includes surveys and acknowledgement that we're having flooding of homes and other structures outside of designated flood zones, and that this is happening on localized lot-to-lot flooding because we're paving more than we should be. And yet the mitigation that is called for is to flood-proof the property that's being harmed by the flooding from the pavement that's on surrounding properties. That's absolutely backwards. That's making the victim pay for abuse and lack of enforcement, quite frankly, from the city. State law prohibits a property from harming a downstream property from overland flow. We need to be enforcing that and holding the people who are causing the damage accountable, and that should be featured, not completely left out where we're forcing the victims to pay for that lot-to-lot flooding. My last topic I'll address is the resolution to initiate a comprehensive, and you're calling it holistic, planning for the entire area code of 78702. Right at the top, you list a bunch of organizations that are involved in this East Austin zip code. It's a real slap in the face to not name Poder and GAVA in that list. I think the work they've done in this zip code is phenomenal, and I'm sure there's other neighborhood organizations that should be listed there. And then, and of course, everybody embraces comprehensive planning. But if you look at the 7 be it resolved statements, not a single one of them is directing the city manager to include the people who live in 78702, like conferring with them to develop these initial findings and recommended implementation. That's a quote from the final be it resolved. There's no direction here to actually include the community in developing this planning process at the outset. That should be at the very top of the list. Telling the city manager to go, in his hidey hole and come out with something in next February is planning backwards and upside down. But it's indicative of what happens with our planning processes. This is, and the Zilker Park planning fiasco is Exhibit A. There was public input, but then your staff totally disrespected and misrepresented the public input they were getting and tried to say that public input was supportive of their plan, when in fact it was overwhelmingly against almost everything in that plan, and certainly everything that costs money and called for construction. So let's start being honest and decent and have some functional democracy at City Hall. And let's kick off this 78702 study right by rewriting this resolution and putting it point blank that the city manager has to include the people who live there, not just institutional investors from somewhere else who have money parked in 78702, and the community groups. Not just list them and say, oh, we're glad they're out there and they're still hanging on, but there's nothing saying, you actually need to talk to those people. Thank you.
9 and 51 for a total of 9 minutes.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Roy Whaley. I'm the Conservation Chair for the Austin Regional Group of the Sierra Club. 37.4%. That's the capacity in Lake Travis today. That is our water. That is our water supply. That is our bank. If you had your budget, which you do ahead of you, and a budget shortfall, which you do have, and you look at this as our water savings and then look at our water budget, we're in trouble. So please factor water supply into every decision you make. Also, factor in listening to the citizens. I know you're all busy. I know you have other things coming up and you need to be online and looking at those, but it feels kind of silly to stand up here and talk to 2 people and the people behind me. And I'm sure that the other speakers feel the same way. And I'm glad we've got to return to democracy. I hope we won't be here until 2 in the morning. although I have been before. And I'm sorry that you won't be home in time for dinner, but you can call out as you have in the past. Let me address, if I could, item 30 and say thank you. Sierra Club enthusiastically supports this, not just for the safety of pedestrians and cyclists, but also the plaza that is planned in the middle that will be a boon for everyone using the trail, but hopefully an economic boon for the area there. And so thank you for that. And also thanks to former council member Greg Casar, now Congressman Greg Casar, for bringing $4.1 million in federal funds to help us finish that project. Let's see, 43. I just have questions about this. I want to make sure that as we move forward with home, that the increased impervious cover, and yes, I know it's supposed to stay the same, but it's not going to, and the potential tree loss is factored into what floods are going to look like in Austin, and that we have flood water retention that can be used as pocket parks. That's for mental health also. Just a little bit of green does children a whole lot of good. Let's see. Oh boy, it's a thrill not to have the buzzer going off on me already. Let's see, and then 51. Bill stole my thunder again. Yes, we need to have that be a comprehensive tree survey so that we know what sort of tree loss we might be facing as we move forward with increased densification through home. I wish it was increased affordability, but it won't be. It's just going to be slightly less expensive. And with the addition of the square footage for a third bedroom, that will make it even more expensive. The National Association of Realtors has a study showing that the target for this kind of housing, they're younger and they really don't want that third bedroom. They know that that is affordability and they don't want the third bedroom. And so that kind of flies in the face of the market. And with that, don't hit that buzzer yet, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to go sit down. Happy Earth Day to everyone. Be sure to bring your umbrellas.
The next speaker is